Alright, what's going on, guys? Just a little cage update for you. I'm working on the door bars right now. I think that's where we left off last. This is what I've got so far. Let me show you what's going on here. Alright, so nothing much has really changed since the last time I made the last video. But I'm working on my door bars now. And originally, I was going to just run a straight bar here, like a lot of people do. This is more like the NASCAR style door bar, but it's a little not as extreme. And I like this setup so far that I have right now the best, because it's going to maximize my just like room in here. Because originally I cut this piece tube right here and I put this here, and just look at the amount of difference that there is here. There's like a good like 3-inch gap here that I'm just like losing room for no reason here, and it would be really tight with my seat. So instead I kind of came up with this little idea here. Basically these are just 20-degree bends, and just measured it out and got it to sit really good with the door. So as you can see, it doesn't hit, but I mean it's a couple millimeters of clearance, and I like that a lot. So it's gonna give me a lot more room over here when I'm driving in the car. So another thing I've been working on, ignore the anti-intrusion plate right there real quick, but I just was mocking up some ideas for some base plates over there. It's just kind of like tacked in. What happened is, if you're gonna be doing this, there's a ton of undercoating underneath the wheel well there. I did not know about that. I started welding, lit up real quick, almost caught that corner of the car on fire. So I'm going to take the wheel off, grind underneath all that undercoating, get it off of there so I can fully weld, because that's why the welds over there are a little spotty right now. I was just gonna fully weld it in, because they need a base plate for those anti-intrusion bars, which I'll show you guys soon. But yeah, it just was catching on fire every single time I tried, so I stopped. I'm gonna do that in a little bit, but this is what I'm working on now, just the door bars. The next is what I'm gonna tackle is I'm probably gonna make another one of these, just a little bit longer though, and it's gonna be at a diagonal here. The goal here is to just cover half of the door, so it's not gonna be too much higher. And then the rules for formula drifts are you just have to have 2 supports in your door bars. They don't have to be like completely level or anything. You can do whatever you want. A lot of people do like X's and stuff. I just think like getting in the car wise, just a nice another one of these just to keep it away from my body as much, and a nice little slant is gonna be perfect. Nothing. I just want it to cover half of the door, so as long as we get that, and down here we'll duck a little bit lower. But the main protection here is just my hip, which will be right in the middle of the door. So we'll just get that covered the most. And as you know, in drifting, your door bars are kind of the most important thing, because you do take some impacts on your doors a lot of the time. So hopefully we'll get all these good, and we're gonna make them really, really strong, just so they do their job. Hopefully one day. Hopefully I don't need them though. So okay, we'll get right on that. All right, so I'm wrapping up the top part of the door bar. Pretty simple, the 20-degree bends, like I said. If you guys are doing this and have similar specs to me, this is kind of what I did. We got 5.5 inches on the main hoop side before you start your 20-degree bend. Then you do your 20-degree bend, and I have 15 5/8 inches, and then you start your other 20-degree bend, and then 2.5 inches on the other side. That will just get you relatively in the right spot. You'll obviously have to trim up the ends a little bit to get them to fit perfect, but this is what it looks like right now. We're gonna pop it out of the bender. This is a little long. I gotta cut this still, so we'll mark this, measure our 2.5 inches, cut it, and we'll get it in the car and see what it looks like. Alright, so another update on the door bar. I got the top bar done. Basically what I did, well, here's how it looks first of all. Super pleased with it. I think it looks sweet. I slanted it at an angle, so it's easier to get into, and it comes up halfway through the door, so it's perfect. The bottom one's basically completely straight, and the top one's just angled. If you're doing this and want to kind of replicate this, these are 80-degree notches on both sides, so it's like a 10-degree difference there. And yeah, I have a ton of room with the seat now. As you can see, if I were to just run a straight bar just across, we'd have like it'd be so close to my elbows. Another thing, I didn't want to smack my elbows on this roll bar in case like I was in a crash or something and your arms come off the wheel. So that just gives me a ton more room. It feels very spacious in there too. I already threw the seat in there just to sit in there real quick, and I'm really happy with it. The next thing I'm going to do, you'll see me do, is I'm going to make basically 2 supports here. I'm going to measure it out and just get 2 supports right in there, just so it meets the rules and everything's all good. This isn't tacked in yet, so I got to tack this in as well. But here, I'll close it real quick so you guys can see the clearance. It's ridiculous. Literally millimeters of clearance. So the door closes fine and everything. So super pleased. I'm loving it. It fits real good. I think it looks really good as well. So now I'm working on the door bar side supports. I'm going to show you how I'm doing that with the angle. As I showed before in earlier videos, the way I use to find the angle is kind of with a piece of string and an angle finder. As you can see, the bottom one is just going to be a 90-degree notch. It's just a straight piece of metal, but the top's at a angle. So the way you do that, you just take a string and you put it in your right there, right here. There's that notch right there. You slide it in, get it close, and you can look. See that it says 80 degrees right there at the bottom. Okay. And then so what I did was I went to metalgeek.com, as I showed in some earlier episodes. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's just a website that I use for my notches. But I used the 80-degree notch right there. So, and I notched this piece right here. So as you can see, it fits pretty good, perfect almost. And then now, right down here, I have a 90-degree notch that I'm going to put right there at the bottom. The hard part is just kind of guessing where to put it. And the helpful way I figured out here, so if you measure this distance exactly in between, what you can do to help you out, because notching is kind of deceiving when you do it this way, at least, because you kind of almost want to like always add to where you think you need to notch it, because as soon as you slide it in, it can be loose, and if your pipe's loose, you can screw up all that work you did, because you'll have huge gaps. What I do is I measure the distance between these, the in-betweens of the pipe, and then I take it to here and I make sure that matches, okay, just to the very edges. And I'll actually give it like an 1/8 of an inch extra sometimes, just so I can have room to grind down. But that's a good like ballpark area just to get it fitting real tight. It's not going to fit the first time. You don't want it to fit the first time because you just want to keep grinding and get it to be perfect. So that's just a good way to get like real tight fitment. I've been doing a pretty good job with this way, and these are all real tight fitting. So we'll see how this turns out. What I did for the placement wise, I had the marks on here from when I put it in the bender, and from the die, and these were the ends of the bends. So right here was the end of this bend, and right here was the end of this bend. So these are pretty uniform spots. I just chose that are relatively in the middle. So I'm gonna put my 2 bars here and here. So that's what we're gonna do, and I'll cut to a little video of me notching this out, and we'll get it in there and see how it fits. Super happy with how it came out. I got the 2 supports in there. They're just like they're both at 90 degrees. They weren't too hard. Both are just 80-degree notches up top and 90s on the bottom, and turned out sick. Let me hop in here real quick. I'll show you guys fitment. Real good fitment with the notches, and you close the door, and it fits perfect. Oh no. The ground's still in the car. Close it. Fits perfect. Super tight. Definitely not going to be in the way. So it can feel as roomy as possible in here with all these tubes in here now. But I'm super happy with how it turned out. The next step would be to duplicate the thing on the exact same side, on the other side, and we'll get that done. After that, once we do that, I'm going to save that for another day, so we'll cut to the next day when I do this. But after that, the whole cage, we're gonna knock these off and slide the whole cage forward so we can fully weld around things like this and up here. And then we're gonna fully weld up the cage, and then we'll push it back after it's fully welded, and we'll work on our anti-intrusion bars. And that is the only other thing we need to be formula drift legal. And then after that, the whole cage is pretty much ready to go. So I figured, a lot of people don't do the anti-intrusion bars. They're not like the most important thing, but I figured, you know, now I'm taking the whole chassis down to bare metal for most of the stuff here, and I'm just like, I'm gonna paint the entire interior of the car once this cage is done. So I don't really want to have to like mess that up later just because I was lazy now. So I figured I'd do it all right now. This car will probably never see formula drift or anything like that, but figured, I mean, if you're gonna do it, you might as well just follow a rule book and get that done. So I'll probably knock that out. You'll see that as well. They're pretty simple. They shouldn't take too long. And I'll show you a couple tricks for that I've been looking up. But besides that, I mean, super good fitment here. I'm super happy with how it turned out. This is all just tacked in. But I really like, I definitely suggest if you can do this like NASCAR style. This is kind of like a half NASCAR, half like just normal. Because it's not going into the door. I still have working windows and everything. But if you can definitely kick it out as close as you can to the door, definitely do that, because it's going to give you so much more room inside driving. And you don't want to drive cramped up driving around the cage. You don't want to even know the cage is really in the car while you're driving, so you can just focus on driving. So that's the big key I can give you. Well, it wasn't too hard. Just took a lot of planning and a little bit of effort, and it turned out good. So now we're gonna knock out the other side, and we'll complete that for today, and we'll see how it turns out. Alright guys, so you just saw me bend the door bar for the passenger side. Right now what I did is I fitted it in the car. Obviously there's a ton of room left off on the bends for the notches, and now I've got in the vise, got my 90-degree notches. It's going to be the bottom bar, so they're just 90-degree notches, and just got them mocked up to the right angle in the tube. You got to put it in the car and turn it just so you get the right spot. You want to do one at a time, so we're going to get this in there, and then the tube's going to slide forward more because we're taking off this much material. So then after you do one, you're going to do the next one. You don't want to do both at the same time, because if you do that, you're not going to get good fitment most of the time. So we'll get that in there, slide that in, adjust this properly, tape it, cut it, and we'll see how it fits. So I'm super happy with how the door bars came out. I just wrapped them up. I was tacking them in at least. Here's the driver's side like you guys saw earlier. And I just got the passenger side all the way in there. It's exactly the same. Exact same spots of a distance between everything, and turned out great. I'm super stoked on it. I love it. But another thing I did off camera was I worked on just getting a support back here. since the strut towers are kind of weird in the FRS, they're kind of in the floor. There's nothing to really like brace the two back there without like a strut tower mount or something like that. So my kind of idea was I'm just gonna I made a bar that went from it's gonna basically go from this frame rail to that frame rail to hopefully stiffen things up a little bit. I'll show you what I got. I'll move away to the back of the car. Just have this bar right here. It's already notched and everything, but fits perfectly in there and goes to there. So I'm gonna just weld that in, and then what we're gonna do is I want to put a lot of cars. If you see in a lot of cars with cages, there's a bar here typically, and that is to strengthen up the joint, yes, but it also it acts as a handle so you can get out. So a lot of people add these into their cages because with like high bolstering seats like this Bride over here I have, they're really hard to get out of, especially when you have to crawl over a door bar. So I'm going to work on just getting 2 of these just support bars that are roll cage tubing, nothing crazy so it doesn't take up too much of my visibility or anything like that. But I'm going to you'll see me make 2 of these to go here, and that should pretty much wrap up all the bars I want to do before we like weld the cage fully in. The last things we have to do for the FD part of the cage is just the anti-intrusion bars, which will connect from here to there. We're going to wait until the cage is fully welded in before we do that, because that's not really something that has to be like done before. And I'm going to, when I weld everything in, I'm going to wait to weld this bar fully in as well. I have plenty of room to get to it, so it's not a big deal of like when we drop the base plates or anything to do it now. The reason I'm waiting for that is because as I said earlier, I'm doing a custom like steering setup, and I'm waiting on my steering column to come in, so I don't know where exactly I want to put this yet. This is just kind of rough estimate of where the old one used to be, so I'm just gonna wait on that before I make my mounts and everything. But everything else should get welded in completely after I do this, and I'll show you how we do that in a minute. Alright, so what's going on, guys? I just wrapped up the handlebars, or like side hoop, like roof bar supports. Here's how they turned out. I just tried to get them kind of just good enough to fit my hand in there. So I found this was the best size for it. Both the same size. What I did was these are 35-degree notches, and the top is a 45 on both sides, and that worked out best to get those sitting there, and they're both pretty uniform and look pretty good in there. Now everything has been tacked in place that needs to be, so I think the next step is we're going to clean everything for welding, which is going to be a huge pain in the butt. I'm going to take most of the tubes I already took the mill scale off of before I put them in the car, but some of them, when I added stuff later on, I didn't do that. So I'm going to go over every single seam that needs welded in the car. I'm going to go over there with a wire wheel, just get it nice and clean, flap disc, all the pieces of metal, just getting it real good for welding to get it ready so we can just do all the welding at once. And then after that, we're going to take some acetone to all the tubes, get them really clean, and then we'll get welding.
Woo!